Wow. This is what Bloomfield Falls looks like after 2 meters of rain. Get off the lens, bug. Our trip starts at Bloomfield Falls as we stayed at Cape Trib. Lucky enough to see a couple of cassowaries in the wild, and start the Bloomfield Track by crossing over this little river here, which also has a beautiful little swimming hole in it. Just a heads up if you go upstream. Our plan is to head up the Bloomfield Track to Lion's Den, and then basically make our way up towards the Cape and do the Old Telegraph Track, and obviously up to the tip. Here we go. So on our way up the coast, we stopped in for a couple of nights at Eddie's camp at Elam Beach. Eddie's an old Aboriginal fella. I think he's in his 90s. He doesn't so much run the show anymore as just oversee, but he is still around, so you might still get a chat to him if you look. But a beautiful little spot. We've got the coloured sands up the road. You can drive up the beach to those. We were able to go crabbing just off the beach here. Got a couple of small ones in our crab pot overnight. The guys here even provided a bit of bait for us in the form of a pig's head. But yeah, pretty little spot, and we were very lucky to see a couple of really nice sunsets too. On our way north, we decided to have a quick look in at the Frenchman's Track. We were very confident the Pasco and Wenlock rivers were going to be way too deep to cross, but we thought we'd poke our nose down. And when we were confronted by scenes like this is just a flat section of track, and it was just underwater for hundreds and hundreds of meters. We were pretty confident that we weren't going to get far. And then sure enough, Jace went down in his car. It took a bit of winching to get him out. So we decided we'd abort that mission and go somewhere else. You're up on top, Jace. You just got wheels full of mud. We arrived at the start of the Old Telegraph Track late in the afternoon, probably 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and we were confronted with a main entry to Palm Creek that was quite a steep drop-in, almost like a gunshot style drop-in. We've got two 79 cruisers, 79 series Land Cruisers in our convoy, and both were pretty confident that the angle of this thing was going to put one of their, because they're quite tall vehicles, put one of their sides into the wall. So we managed to drive around and go a alternate route, which probably ended up being not the best decision. As you can see, the alternate route is basically washed away. We were the first ones to go through it after the wet season, and it was very sketchy. We ended up getting bogged in the creek and had to winch into the creek to get across, and spent then probably about an hour winching out of the creek on the other side.
Stop there. Right side. Alright, keep coming down. We're down. That was scary for me. Must have been scary for you. Alright, the all-terrain tokens are off.
So the problem with going through so early in the season, we had this issue with a lot of the creek crossings, was that the silt has built up at the entry and exits. So there's just a metre or more of just bottomless slop. So we were getting stuck so bad that we were having to winch into the creeks. As you can see, that's what's going on here. Once we were through that slop and onto the sandy base of the creek, we were fine, got through okay, but then getting at the other end, we had the same exact slop again. Here we are on the exit, just managed to get the front wheels up out of the creek. The rear wheels at this point are basically still in the creek, trying to get through that slop. You'll watch what happens as we start to winch up and try and drive through this.
Is it moving?
You can see there it goes sliding in towards the bank again. We did eventually get through, double line pulls the whole way because it was just so heavy on the back wheels getting it through. But once we were through that slop at the entry, we managed to drive the rest of the way. But as I said, because it was late afternoon, we only got the 279s through this point. So we camped by ourselves, and then the rest of the guys, which is as you can see now, had to come through the next morning. So here's Davo and the Ranger coming through now. Missed the descent in, but we'll show you that in a sec of the other vehicles coming through. Yeah. We just weren't quite able to get Dave all the way up, winching off that tree, so we had to reposition. Luckily the 279s, as I said, had gone in a different way, so we were able to reposition and just winch off the back of the vehicles. Without one of those vehicles across, it would have been very, very difficult to get through because there wasn't a whole lot of winchable trees beyond that one right at the top of the hill there. And Dave's through. This is the big 100 dropping in to the Palm Creek. This is the main crossing, so this is the one we said had that big steep drop in. The 79 boys, me included, drove around that one. We weren't confident we weren't gonna put a side of the car into the wall there. As you can see, it's just a big long section of mud and then into the river. And then the climb out, which no one drove. It's not really drivable. Maybe a bit of a comp buggy or something, but not in touring vehicles. And Alex actually lost a number plate through here. Got it. Once we had those initial couple of vehicles up, we decided that a simple tow was going to be a lot quicker than making everyone winch. Alex didn't have the option. He doesn't have a winch anyway, but yeah, a lot quicker to pull them up at the end. As here we go with Hendo dropping in now. He's got a Hilux Rugged X.
A little bit, yep, that's good. coming, slowly, slowly. Slowly, slowly. Passenger tyres just coming over. Slowly, slowly. That's it. Roll down like that. Slowly, slowly. A little bit of driver side steering. Yep, that's enough. I'm done. Keep going. Slowly, slowly. Slowly, slowly. That's it. Keep going. Keep coming. Keep coming. A little bit of passenger side steering. Yep. That's it. That's it. Doing good. A bit more passenger. Yep. Back tyres are just coming over the edge now. Yep. Keep going. Let it creep down. You're on the first max track. Yep. Alright, you've just picked up the second max track. Yep. Right. Keep coming straight as the tyres are. Give it a little bit of power as you accelerate out. Yep. Alright.
Lovely.
Righto, that's enough.
Hendo's got a new winch on his vehicle and we had to give it a test run, so that's what this is about. And then as you can see, just to finish off, rather than trying to winch off the back of the vehicle, just giving a little tug to finish off the climb.
I'll pull up the tension and then I'll...
Your wheels are straight, Hendo. And that'll be it. We're all safely through Palm Creek.
Here we go.
Alright, a little bit of drive, Hendo.
Easy.
Yeah! So this is what much of the telly track was like. As you saw, the Frenchman's was like this as well, but yeah, the telly track probably even worse. Just sections of hundreds and hundreds of meters of the track still being underwater.
Cape York wet season. Oh. Well, not even wet season, just early in the dry. Balfour Track, eat your heart out. This is Cape York just after the wettest wet in 24 years, and we are early May and there is a lot of water. I don't think this is even a recognised creek crossing, but here we are, and it's probably 100 metres long or so. And just up there,
You'll see here Hendo taking a bit of a dog leg. The reason for that is that the track's straight through is got a massively deep hole in it. We walked it, 3 of us walked it, and it was up to our necks, so way too deep to drive. So you had to do a dog leg around that hole, but other than that, it was a pretty straightforward sort of crossing.
lovely. And now you will see off in the distance the rare kiwi bird struggling its way through the swamp.
Birdie Creek, beautiful little crossing, this one. Nice, very rocky, but yeah, super clear, super nice little spot for a swim too. There's a little bit of a waterfall or cascade just downstream, which is perfect for a little stop off and dip. We actually camped just down the road from here. The main exit out from Birdie Creek had been seriously eroded over the wet, so there was a little bypass, which is what I'm on now. But it was a little bit sketchy because that wall, you can't see in the frame there, that wall where my passenger side tyres are is about 6 foot high, and it's just sand and clay. So if that wall gives way, you're going to be in a world of pain.
Jack.
Yep, tighten up.
This is the infamous gunshot. This is the main way through now. All the tracks basically lead to this drop in. The old, walls of soil that are drop into a mud pit, they're still there, but the tracks don't really lead there, so there's no real direct way to go that way anymore. Not that you would, because they're pretty mental. But the main concern here was the side angle. There's a bit of an erosion gully, as you can see, in the side of your entry there. So we're a bit concerned about putting the side of the vehicles into the wall, which is why we loaded up that little gully with max tracks.
Yep. Just gonna have to keep on that.
Jack. Jack. Can't stop. Jack.
Onto those max tracks, a little bit of passenger steering, yeah, add more passenger, that way. Sorry, got my hands mixed up. That's it, keep it down, as size as they are. Right, bit of driver, more driver, slow, more driver. Yep, come down on that. Yep, alright, passenger, sorry.
We've been lucky. Little bit of wet sand out. Clear.
Yep, a little bit of right. Let's straighten up. Touch more right. Touch more right. You're about to drop off now. Slow. Good. Coming down. Hold that line. Straighten up a little bit. That's just the max track. Right. Touch of right. Touch of right. Looking good. Hold that. Rear wheels are down. Just grab your side step. Pick it off down. And left. Yep, clear. Yep, nice and slow. A little bit of right. That's it. Hold that. Front wheel's just dropping onto that first max track. A little bit of right. A little bit of right, Endo. That's it. A little bit more right. Yep. Front wheel's on that max track. Come forward. That's it. Here we go. Starting to drop over. Hold that line. Straighten up slightly. A little left. Yep. Hold that line. A little bit of left. Yep. Hold that. A little bit of right. Just your rear wheel rubber. right, hold that line. A little bit of left, a little bit of left. Yep, the rear wheel's coming down. And you are through, son.
But this one is Cockatoo Creek. This was probably the one that gave us the most trouble for the entire trip, or the entire Old Telly Track at least anyway. The entry was similar to Palm Creek, just full of slop from the wet season. We spent probably an hour on the shovels trying to prepare the entry to get through. Laid down, oh, excuse that horrible camera work, laid down some max tracks in the driver's side wheel line, and basically tried to scoot over the slop with one wheel up out of it and one wheel through it. Managed it successfully for the first 2 vehicles, but after that you'll see it got a bit messy. Crossing actually was very, very rocky, and because it was flowing quite well, it was really hard to see the rocks. So this is the reason we've got the guys out in the river there marking it out. This is what happens when you miss your line by about 6 inches. Miss those max tracks and good night, straight in. And this was where it all started to go pear-shaped for us, where we ran the winch line all the way across the river and spent hours here winching the next 3 vehicles through.
We're just arrived at Fruitbat Falls after spending 2.5 days getting from the Palm Creek crossing, which took us the best part of a day, all the way up to here. Very early on in the dry season, they've had a very, very wet April, wettest April in 24 years, I believe. And it's taken 2.5 days for us to get to this point, but absolutely well worth it.
This is the beautiful Elliott Falls, really, really pretty spot and excellent photographic spot. A whole lot of really nice natural leading lines, just yeah, really pretty as you can see here.
This is the aptly named Twin Falls. We just visited Elliott Falls back there. Really pretty spot, and because we're so early in the dry, we've got it all to ourselves. Haven't seen another person here. How good. What a pretty spot. Great little swimming hole.
As we headed north, we found that the Cypress Creek Bridge, old log bridge, was out, so we, rather than spend an extra day trying to rebuild the old bridge, we decided to go around via the bypass track and see even that's got its own pitfalls and didn't exactly get a plan for it. So here we are on the Jardine River ferry, making our crossing. You would not be driving this river at the moment. It is very, the water level's quite high.
G'day.
Oh, hello. This is Punsand Bay. We're only obviously 15 kilometres or so from the tip right now. Absolutely beautiful spot to camp. It's very resort style, got a swimming pool, bar, restaurant, all that. Very nice, but beachfront camping is the go. Absolutely beautiful. And I'm just going to wander down now. We're probably 20 minutes off sunset. So I'm going to have a quick wander down and see if I can't capture a sunset. Geez, that water's warm. Must be like 26 degrees in there. But the beachfront is absolutely beautiful, as I'll let you see. Here comes Jace from his fish, empty-handed. Oh yeah, you're allowed canines here too, as you can see. Look at this bullfed. And this is what happens when you play with a dog with a sock on your microphone. He thought it was a tennis ball and grabbed it. Bullfed. So as you can see, the sun's setting behind me here at Punsand Bay, and I'm set up down here nice and low. The reason being, there's this little bit of coral just down here that looks really nice. So I'm hoping that will give just a little bit of foreground interest, along with, obviously as the tides rushed out today, it's left all these beautiful leading lines in the sand here. So I'm hoping that will give us some foreground interest, and then obviously we've got the mountains off in the background leading out to the flat ocean, and even way off in the background, whatever you may not be able to see on this camera, but way out sort of there, there's more islands off the coast, so we might be able to even pick them up. I'm quite wide at about, I think 18 mil, no, almost at 16 mil, there you go, to get everything in, because I'm quite close to that coral. And there's a nice bit of cloud, sort of soft light over the top of these hills over here, which is nice. I'm hoping it lights up some of the sea fog out this way as well. Anyway, Punsand Bay, how beautiful. We made it to the tip, top of Australia, northernmost point of the Australian continent. Unfortunately, we were beaten there. We arrived at the same time as a tour group, so it was anything but quiet. But still happy for the achievement.